Andrew Klavan confirming on a sit down with the trigonometry people on their podcast, I believe, confirming that Candace Owens was fired from the Daily Wire for saying Christ is King. So I'm going to pull this up here. This is from Censored Men, and they covered this originally with their quote tweet. So let's go to the quote tweet to get the whole story here for anybody who was missing some information, right? This is a bombshell leak, okay? Candace Owens, man, my head is so big. Why is my head so big? I'll move this a little bit. I'll make myself smaller, right? That's perfect. Okay. Bombshell leak, Candace Owens is fired for saying Christ is King. 4 Daily Wire employees, all Christians, have approached me, Censored Men account, and leaked information about an impromptu town hall that Jeremy Boring hosted on the day of Candace's firing. Jeremy Boring, who's the CEO of Daily Wire, sent an email to all Daily Wire employees inviting them to an impromptu town hall in Candace Owens' studio. The town hall was led by Boring, with Andrew Klavan repeating many of the same corporate talking points on his own show the next day. The 4 employees that came forward told Censored Men that the town hall attempted to brainwash the employees who were present into believing that Candace was, in fact, an anti-Semite. They view it as an extreme form of damage control to scare and prevent employees from speaking out against Owens' firing later that day. The feeling was that they didn't just want her gone, they wanted everyone to hate her like Ben does. That is a statement from an anonymous employee from the Daily Wire. And the subjects that they brought up during the town hall was that Candace's repeated use of Christ is King was anti-Semitic, that a clip of Nick Fuentes chanting Christ is King was played to kind of like to show that there's like some kind of connection or correlation what Candace was doing with Nick Fuentes. A clip from Candace, who was on the Fresh and Fit podcast, where a ka-ching sound was played in the background, like what she has no control over. Like this is probably Myron or Fresh who's just pressing buttons while they're talking about things. Like, yeah, wow, she has so much control over that. And then obviously some clear and bitterness from the attitude from between Ben. And there was also some leaked audio that had been out from before this where, Ben's essentially kind of tearing apart Candace Owens. And they clearly didn't like her, right? So they refused to come forward. Even Jeremy Boring was like, no, she wasn't fired for that reason, da-da-da-da. And they wouldn't talk about it, right? But everybody knew it. This is why she got fired. Well, this is Andrew Klavan confirming this. So the Censored Man goes on to talk about the tweet I just went through. He confirms it. And the way he says it is it's just arrogant, is the way that I would put this. But look, don't let me say it to you. Let's just watch this.
And ever since I've been the target of what they call the Groypers, I just call them Nazis because that's what they are. There were things going out over our air that she was saying that were being at least received, I have to say, as being deeply anti-Semitic, so that Nick Fuentes, who is a virtual Nazi, I mean, there's no space between him and what a Nazi would be saying, was praising her to the skies. If Nick Fuentes praises me to the skies, I go out and say, no, I'm not on your side. I don't know what you mistook, but there was nothing coming back. And so it was becoming uncomfortable to be on the same, station, the same venue where that stuff was coming out. And
was frustrating to be on the same venue where that stuff was coming up. This is the same company that sits there and goes, well, yeah, you can have different opinions, man. Like, we're the free speech company. We're a free speech platform. And then here's Andrew Klavan saying, what Candace Owens was saying made me feel unsafe. Like, come on, dude. What a bitch.
So without ever having any kind of personal animus toward Candace, or even knowing what it was she intended. I'm not even saying that was, how she intended it to be received. It simply became impossible to have a good feeling about this place that I helped build and that I love very much and that I'm very proud of, as an entity. And it was very painful to have that kind of stuff coming out over the air. And I did not want Nick Fuentes. I don't want Nick Fuentes' praise. I don't even want, I don't want him to have a happy day because of anything that I said. And so that was my basic reaction. And in that was involved the fact that some of this was being phrased in religious terms. And one of the ways this was happening was the phrase Christ is King. Now, as I said repeatedly on the show, as Jeremy Boring, who runs the Daily Wire, said repeatedly, we believe this. We believe that Christ is King. I also believe in the cross of Christ. But if you burn the cross on somebody's lawn, it's no longer the cross of Christ. It's just a vehicle, a symbol of your toxic hatred. And so the way it was being.
Okay. So, yeah, they're right there. Toxic hatred, dude. That's the reason why she was fired. It's because Candace Owens was using Christ as King because she just had to exemplify her toxic hatred towards Jewish people. What a joke.
Used online as an attack on Jews,
An attack on Jews. I mean, this is insane stuff to me because it's like the Jews literally killed Christ. And that's where like so much of this is just culminating with the HR 6090, the Israeli influence, the AIPAC. I mean, dude, AIPAC just was boasting about how they were going to get Thomas Massie primaried out because he was unwilling to take 100% alignment with their stances. Insane stuff, dude. Everybody knows that Candace Owens was beginning to talk about things that the Daily Wire did not appreciate, which was the influence and the outward push that the Daily Wire has to be Israel first over being America first, particularly when it comes to the eschatology of religion and how unwilling they are to navigate said topic. This is one of those things where if you don't actually have a actual like read up or at least at least a 2-inch depth understanding of what the Bible says and the actual order of events and the logic of these things, that you would fall into the trap of believing in the Judeo-Christian framework, which is just a bunch of hogwash. It's made up. Poof, fairy tale, nothing. I mean, it literally means nothing. You don't believe me? Go look. It wasn't even being used until the 1940s, around the time the state of Israel was created. They're not connected. Judaism does not. They're not the same things, right? Oh, nice. I got a super chat here from Titan. Says, the elite are so desperate for sin, insulted by truth. God help us. Just stopping by, though. We'll have to catch a stream later. Hey, I appreciate it very much, Titan. Would love to have you. Subscribe, like, do all the like. I'm trying to make more content out, too. I normally was only doing this once a week. I'm trying to do it a lot more than that. I do appreciate it very much, man. Thank you so much. But 100%. Very, very desperate, right? Extremely desperate. And that's why I was making all these points, where it feels like this kind of curse is like been lifted, where this curse, it seems that the mask is so ever been pulled off. And it's so much easier for me to see these things are very, very openly, not just degenerate, but clearly satanic. I mean, particularly when you think of how many celebrities, right? It was like, there's that big list, and it was like Sam Smith. I mean, Taylor Swift was doing it, Kendrick Lamar, over and over and over and over and over again. Painted red, covered in blood. They're doing devil horn dances. They're doing, they have all these satanic imagery. It's very clear, like, who they worship and where that frame is coming from. And not even just that. I mean, you have Kendrick Lamar and Lil Nas X, both in different ways, but directly portraying themselves as if they were Jesus. Now, Lil Nas X did it with the crucifixion in some kind of crazy weird video where it was like a gold cross. It was all CGI and animated. But Kendrick literally put on a crown of thorns. And I don't know if it was for just an album cover or if he did it for a stunt. I just remember the photo existing. And it's very clear that it is an attempt to mock what is the truth, which is God and Christ. And so to me, it's, especially with the Daily Wire, who was somebody who I wanted to desperately support. And then October 7th happens, and then I get my eyes opened by people who are smarter than me, who are more plugged into these things, whether it's people who are like Jeff Younger or Sovereign Bra or Nick Fuentes. It opens my eyes to be like, wait a minute, they're right. What is all of this insane level of just complete deference to another country that we should have no relation with? And in fact, if we are a Christian nation, why would we even be as? And so there's all these things that don't make any sense, right? But that's the noticing, right? That's the you start that on that path, man. you're going to end up in a spot where you're like, wait a minute, why are all my accounts banned? All I said was I noticed that, you know? And that's the stuff that really is like, I'm going to push hard against. And especially when you see like the reinstatement of Elon Musk reinstating Nick Fuentes in this same timeline, in this same time period, it's like, I feel like Elon sees the writing on the wall a little bit. And Elon was like, let's push back against this. Because Elon is probably this maverick guy, right? I bet he probably doesn't believe, he might believe in something greater than himself, but it doesn't strike me as someone who's Christian. But I think he strikes me as somebody who's really, really smart. And he's like a maverick, as he would call it, right? And what's hilarious is I see him operating like that, where he's like, you know what? This side's getting too powerful. Beep. Give this side a little bit more strength. Because that's the kind of spot he's operating, right? If he is in charge of the freest speech platform outside of Rumble and a few others, then I guess he really does have that power, especially when X is deemed by many people to be the free speech platform. It's becoming the public square. And this was happening way, way long ago. I mean, how many times, could you be on ESPN and they would be like, oh, and look at this tweet here from this person. It was the public square, right? It would be who ESPN would reference. It's who CNN would reference when people would tweet. It would be very rarely that you would see an ESPN talking about a Facebook post. It's always generally would be a Twitter post. And that was because even before Elon buying Twitter, Twitter was becoming that public square. That was the breaking news portion. I haven't seen anything else follow up with this, obviously, because I went live right after.
Ever since I've been the target.
But it's something to keep an eye on too. And again, I'll say this again for people. I am, I guess, aligned with the dissident right. Sorry, my shirt's just way too tight. I'm aligned with the dissident right. I'm someone who finds himself agreeing with Nick Fuentes on more than one occasion, especially in light of all the Israeli influence. Especially Ian Carroll is another person who I've been following quite a bit, who is very spot on. He generally stays in the realm of like finance as well too, but he is pretty spot on when it comes to Israeli influence as well in the APAC, and he's really good with numbers. He has a huge channel on TikTok. I believe he is Cancel Cloco, because I'm pretty sure he operates you can't cancel this clothing company, so his @ is Cancel Cloco. Let me just do everybody a favor and let me just show this. Let me go here. This is who I'm talking about. It's Cancel Cloco. This guy right here. He's been blowing up here recently, but follow the money. And that's what his kind of like thing has been. And I think he blew up on TikTok, is essentially making these TikToks where he's real quickly with the green screen behind him showing like this. Now this person paid this person, but look at this thing doing this thing. Really good. He's a really good follow. You should definitely follow this guy because he's on point and he's kind of joined in on the dissident right with attacking things from the perspective of like the influence and the illogic or the logical fallacies that exist in these things, especially people say they're America first and they're not. He went really hard at Tom Cotton actually earlier today. I wonder if I can find that. Yeah, there we go. It's his first one here. So Tom Cotton, who I've gotten word from people who like and appreciate Tom Cotton, which to be fair, Tom Cotton is one of the better, I put that in quotes, conservatives. But the reality is he still bows down to the altar of Israel. So it says today, Democrats blocked my bill to force the Biden administration to deliver weapons to Israel. Why is this even a care in the world? Right? Like this is your based America first politician right here, Mr. Tom Cotton. No way, dude. To force our administration to send weapons to a foreign country when our country's in debt by like $30 trillion. No, dude. There's not a single thing America first about this. But here's Ian Carroll's response. You're a warmonger crying on the internet that Americans don't want you spending our tax dollars on weapons that would be used to kill more civilians than soldiers in a war halfway around the world. Shut the fuck up and enjoy the rest of your last term in office and the APAC checks while you've got them. Powerful, dude. Very powerful. I am so glad that people are beginning to speak up and speak truth to power like this. This one is like the fire and brimstone, But if we can pair the fire and brimstone with the meme mockery, we can get these people into uncomfortable positions and get the truth exposed. And I love it, dude. Like, and especially because a lot of this is really only possible because of X and being able to unite all of these, alt-right or too far extreme accounts now coming out and being able to be present and be, in these be in these places, and it not just be entirely one-sided with progressives arguing with liberals who are pretending that they're conservatives, right? Like we can kind of open it up, because I truly don't think, listen, I honestly truly don't think that most people even have a good idea of what the right wing really is, because I don't think the right wing honestly exists in the normal political spectrum. They really aren't. Especially because the right wing as it sits right now has become so hell-bent on just simply reacting to what the left is doing. It's lost its foundations. So to move off of this would be a hard segue, though. Hard segue from the Israeli influence in the Daily Wire stuff. Probably we'll see more from that, I would imagine. But we're going to go to the actual title item, right?